What's going on, DJBooth.net? This is your boy Kareem, and I'm here in the lab to give you guys a quick review video of the new Pioneer DDJ-SR professional 2-channel Serato DJ controller. So what we have here is a trimmed down version of the Pioneer DDJ-SX controller. That controller was the first flagship controller from Pioneer. It was a very, very successful controller. It comes in white, gold, black, many different colors and configurations. Wildly popular. It was the first controller that came bundled with the Pioneer and Serato DJ software, and it worked very, very well. It had the nice 16 pads that you see here on the DDJ-SR, but some DJs thought it was a little too big, a little too bulky. They wanted something a little bit smaller that they can take with them with a smaller compact layout and footprint, but they still wanted that same beautiful build quality, the same sturdy, rugged reliability, and all of the full Serato DJ experience that comes with the DDJ-SX package. So in steps the 2-deck version, the DDJ-SR. Even though it's 2 decks in mixer and deck layout, they are layer buttons so that you can layer between deck 2, deck 4, deck 1, and deck 3 on the left, and that way you still get your Serato DJ full 4-deck experience with the DDJ-SR, but it's just in a nice small compact footprint, easier to take with you on the go, easier to store, and it's just a really nice, fun little package to get your digital DJ experience started. So the first up is the overall impressions. We have a really nice and solid build quality here. You get the full Serato DJ bundled experience with the DDJ-SR. So you have your aluminum top jog wheels, you have your aluminum faceplate, which really feels sturdy, really feels strong. You do have your plastic bottom and underneath, but it really feels like a good weighted plastic, like a good high quality, strong plastic, and it really just feels like it's definitely gonna last. All of your knobs have a metal post underneath, so everything is constructed very well. You know it's gonna last, you know it's durable. That's one of my big pet peeves of the DJ equipment industry. I like durable, reliable equipment, and this really feels the part. You have 2 cutouts here on the underside, so that way you can have a handle-like motion. You can really grab it and take it with you on the go. And it just has a nice sleek finish, nice sleek appearance. You have the metal top jog wheels. Once again, the jog wheels are a little bit different from the DDJ-SX. We'll go into that. And they also recently announced the DDJ-SZ and the SB. The SZ is a full flagship Serato DJ experience. It's even bigger than the SX. It has the same size jog wheels as the monstrous Nexus 2000 players. It has the same DJM 900 style mixer with all of your different noise effects and your beat effects, and it's really a beast of a controller. That is coming out soon. We'll have that review for you guys shortly. And the DDJ-SB, which is the smallest and the entry-level iteration of the same type of controller. You still have your nice pads there, but you have a all plastic type of build quality, and it's a little bit less in terms of what you're getting overall. You also don't get the full Serato DJ experience. You can upgrade to it, but it comes with Serato DJ Intro. But again, back to the DDJ-SR, this comes with the full Serato DJ software. You guys will be able to easily start playing. It comes with a software CD and a driver. You can load that into your computer, or as we recommend, you go straight to the Pioneer DJ website, get the latest firmware. Then you go on over to the Serato DJ website, get the latest Serato DJ software iteration there, and it was simply plug and play. Once you do that, you plug in your USB connection, you plug in your RCA or your XLR for your output to your speakers or your amps, and you plug in your headphones in the front, mic in the front as well, and you're ready to go. It's really that simple. It's just basically a plug and play operation. I didn't have to go into any of the other parameters or other preferences in order to make it work. Everything just works as soon as you plug it in. On a side note, there is no power cord or no power style connection port on the back, so everything is 100% USB bus powered, so you can really easily take this with you on the go and get started playing right away even without a power source next to you. So next up, we'll take a look at the front and the back panels and show you everything else that the DDJ-SR has to offer. Okay, so next up I'll just show you the front and rear panels of the DDJ-SR. On the front you have your 1/4 inch and your 1/8 inch headphone connector. You can connect one or both Then you have your headphone volume control knob. Next up is your crossfader section. You have a crossfader reverse switch, and then you have a crossfader curve adjustment knob here, so you can do really quick, sharp cuts or really smooth, accurate fades for mixing. Next, all the way to the right, you have your one and only mic input. This is the volume control, and it is a 1/4 inch or TRS style connector. Flip this around. And on the back, you have your auxiliary input, so you can use any line level device, your MP3s, your CDJs. You can't really mix it, but you can turn the volume up on it with the volume control knob here, right next to the actual input. Next up, you have your outputs. You have a booth or a master 2, they're calling it. You can use it as a master 2 and use the top volume control knob as another master. You just have 2 of them. Or you can switch this to booth, and you can use your volume control knob here to control the volume level of this independently. Next up, you have your master output, which is the balanced TRS 1/4 inch style connectors, left and right. And then you have your USB port and your on-off switch. And there's also a Kensington lock here as well. You'll notice there is no type of connector for a power cable, so this is completely USB powered. There's no option for you in any type of wall socket power. It just is a USB powered device. Alright everyone, so here it is, the brand new Pioneer DDJ-SR 2-channel, actually 4-channel Serato DJ controller with only 2 channels immediately present. Again, they have the layering functions, and we'll get into all of that. So first up, after your setup, after you download all your drivers, all your software, set it up on your computer, you're ready to go. You can go into preferences and you can make tweaks and minor changes to latencies and things like that, but I didn't have to do that at all. It was completely plug and play, just like most Serato DJ controllers. Again, you connect your speakers on the back, your USB cable, headphones and mic, and you're ready to go. So first up, you have your mixing console, which is right in the middle section of the mixer. You have your crossfader all the way here at the bottom. There is a crossfader adjustment knob right here on the front panel. And there's also a crossfader reverse switch on the front panel as well. So you have this crossfader here. It works very, very nicely. It feels a little plasticky, but it works very, very well. It has a really low cut-in distance, and you can make a real nice, long, smooth fade, or you can make it a really, really sharp cut. So good for scratching, good crossfader all around. Next up, you have your line faders, which have a little bit more resistance to them. Again, it feels like the same faders pulled from the DDJ-SX line. In the middle, you have your LED level meters, and you can switch that between what's playing in your master versus what's playing on channel 1 and channel 2. That way, at a glance, you can just check and see, make sure your levels are not clipping when you're playing out. Next up, you have cue buttons. That way, you can cue up what you have in your headphones. And when you hit shift and these cue buttons, you're actually tapping the BPM of the track that's loaded into that deck. You also have channel fader starts. You can set that up in the software, and as soon as you put up the volume, you will get a fader start. Next up, you have your filters for each channel: low pass to the left, high pass to the right. In the middle, you have your sampler volume control knob for your SP6 sampler. Whenever you start your samples, you can change the volume using this knob here. You have your 3-band full kill EQ, along with a trim or gain knob at the top. Then you have your headphone mix knob, which allows you to mix between the cue and the master of what's in your headphones, whatever you have queued up or whatever's coming out of the actual master outputs. Then you have your master volume control knob, and you have your booth volume control knob on the back. So if you need it, you can use it on the back. Next up, you have your navigation controls. You have a back, a load prepare button, a nice oversized encoder. It's always the same as basically what's found on your other DJ controllers. You have load buttons to load either deck, depending on what deck is selected at the time, 2 or 4 on the right, 1 or 3 on the left. As soon as you hit that load button, you'll load a track. So we can go to some tracks. We can select another deck here, load deck 3. We can also go to deck over here, load deck 2, and you can also load deck 4. So like we said before, this is a 4-deck DJ controller. You can load the tracks as you see fit to all 4 decks of control within Serato DJ, and you use the layering function in order to toggle between decks. Next, you can also use the navigation controls for different functions, like when you press Shift and the push button or the encoder, you actually get this toggle between your effects, your SP6 sampler, and your recording function. Next up, you have your back button that allows you to navigate through your files, but you can also use that to change your view when you press Shift, and it'll change the different layouts within Serato DJ. Next up, you have your area. Your load prepare also doubles as an area button, which changes the area of your navigation to your different choices that you can see there on the screen. You can choose to navigate between your files, genre, artist, songs, your history, or your library as it stands. Okay, so next up is the deck portion of the DDJ-SR. Each deck is layered. You have deck 1 controls and deck 3 controls on the left side, and then you have deck 2 controls and then deck 4 controls on the right hand side. So they are not mirrored, they're actually identical. The decks are identical on each side, meaning you have the same exact layout on each side. You don't have like a mirrored effect. That means you have your tempo sliders are always in the top right hand corners, and your play, pause, and cues will always be in the bottom left corner of the layout. So some people prefer it mirrored, some people don't. It doesn't really matter to me. It works just as good both ways. So first up at the bottom, you have your auto loop section or your manual loop section. And here you can activate your auto loops just by pressing the button. You can do the manual loops by pressing Shift, and the half button then turns into an in, and Shift and the double button turns into an out. So really easy to use your in and out on your manual loop, and then you press Shift and auto loop to activate that manual loop back again. In order to do your auto loop, you just press the button, and whatever loop indicator size is here on the face of the LED readout here, you will be in that loop, and you're allowed to change it, half or double it by using these buttons here. Next up, you have your parameter buttons, which correspond to the 16 pads that you have on both decks altogether. You get 8 pads per deck, and these pads will let you control things like the hot cues, rolls, slicer, and sampler. And you also have a pad plus that gives all of these buttons a second effect, which is written on the above the actual button. So you get a hot cue roll, which will allow you to start your hot cue, and then you can use the roll function to allow it to keep looping. Then you have a roll, which is like your auto loop, but it keeps the sequence underneath in a slip mode type of fashion. Then you have a trans, which is above that, which is the pad plus section. That's like a trans in order to cut up and down the volume, in and out the volume, and the different pads will correspond to the amount of time the trans works. Next up, you have a slicer. The slicer slices the beat into 8 equal parts, and that way you can remix and flop around on the fly. We'll show you a quick demo of all of these. Next up, you have your combo effects, which allows you to enact an effect that you already have selected, and it also rolls a filter in there at the same time, so it gives you like a filter sweeping effect. Really cool to use. And next up, you have your sampler, which allows you to just straight play your samples when you start the sample mode. And then you have your sampler roll, which allows the sample to continuously roll at the BPM and loop length you have set. So we'll show you quick examples of all of these, and we can begin with the hot cue section.
I've been mixing, I've been sipping.
In the pad plus, we have a hot cue roll.
I'm not trying to fuck too much. I've been mixing. I've been mixing. I've been sipping. I've been mixing. I've been sipping. Nah, nah.
Next, you have your roll.
I'm not trying to fuck tomorrow, baby. I want you. Nah, 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 nah. Don't want. I'll call you back if that head right.
And then you have your trans.
I can't love you. Let's have some superpowers. I want you. Nah, nah. I'm not trying to fuck tomorrow.
Slicer.
Baby, I want you. Nah, nah. 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 Nah, 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 nah.
And then your combo effect.
Woke up in the kitchen, so we had
And you have your sampler, your SP6. Sampler roll, that was, and the sampler itself. So that's the pad section in a nutshell. As you can see, we were using the parameter forward and backwards arrow in order to change some of the rolls and the slicer effects and the size of them. So you got parameter knobs to adjust, make minor adjustments to what you're actually doing with the pad section. Next up, you have a tap and an auto button, so that way you can tap the BPM in if it's not correct in Serato. Next up, you have your play pause button, your Q, and your sync. And you press shift and sync, the sync turns off. You press shift and Q, and you can go back to the beginning. And then you have again your play and pause at the bottom. Next is your layering, your deck 1 and deck 3. And next you have your jog wheel, which is an aluminum top jog wheel. Really nice. It's a 1-to-1 operation. It works really, really well in Serato, just as good as the DDJ-SX did. It's not exactly the same as the DDJ-SX because it's smaller, just to fit with the smaller footprint, just as with the pads are a little bit smaller, just to fit with the smaller footprint. You also don't have the light ring on the actual display of the jog wheel. There's no display here. So unlike the DDJ-SX and the DDJ-SZ that will come out very soon, there is no LED ring here on the jog wheel, but a lot of controllers don't have it. It's not really a deal breaker here. Again, 1-to-1 in operation. It's near perfect. Always really quick and responsive, and it's a really nice mating with the crossfader, so you can do your scratching and your mixing as you need. You can put it in vinyl mode or jog mode. When you're in vinyl mode, you're allowed to drag the top like this. When you're in vinyl mode, you can drag the top. And when you're in jog mode, you can actually speed up and slow down by using the top without actually grabbing it. Next up, you have your key lock, tempo reset button, and tempo range button. This way you can change the tempo range of the slider. You have your tempo sliders here. They're rather short. It's probably one of my only gripes with the unit was that coming from turntables or from CDJs or from larger controllers that I always use, it took me a little bit of time to get used to the smallish tempo sliders here. They're still pretty good in resolution, but it's just worth pointing out that it might take you a little time to get used to it if you're used to using larger, long throw, super high resolution pitch sliders. Next up, you have your effects sections at the top. Your FX1 is to the left, and the FX2 is all the way over here to the right. You have your 4 LED buttons, so that way you know what effect is on. You can use the knob to change the parameter of the effect, and you can press Shift and the effect select button, or the effect button, in order to select a different effect to that particular knob. You're allowed to combine 3 effects per side with each other, and then you can combine all 6 together depending on your FX assign buttons that you have here in the corners. These FX assign buttons allow you to assign FX bank 1, FX bank 2 onto a particular deck. You have your isotope effects in Serato. They're really good. They're getting better and better. And they always have new updates and downloads that you can get. You can purchase additional effects kits as they become available. Okay, so in conclusion, the Pioneer DDJ-SR is a really powerful, compact, very durable, and a really nice controller for anyone who wants the full Serato DJ experience right out of the box. You have a nice footprint, so it's compact and easy to take with you on the go. For those who are complaining the DDJ-SX or even the SZ would be too big for them, but they still wanted a nice Pioneer quality style Serato DJ controller, then the Pioneer DDJ-SR is probably what you want to look for. It has the intuitive 16 pads, 8 on each side, that are used to control things like hot cues, rolls, slicer, and samples. And you also have your Pad Plus feature, which gives you even more functions from these pads that doubles the function to hot cue roll, transformer, combo FX, and sampler roll. So you get really full featured pad section here. The pads are a little bit smaller than the DDJ-SX, but they work just the same. Really fun for drumming on, really intuitive, really cool on the DDJ-SR. Also, you're getting a very tightly mapped jog wheel with aluminum top to it, and the resolution is basically 1:1, so you can do all your scratching and mixing right here on these high quality jog wheels. And you also have a nice high quality fader to match, which has a very low cut-in distance, which makes it easy for you to pull off your scratches. And you can change the crossfader curve to be a more slow mix, so great for mixing and scratching. It also comes bundled with the full out Serato DJ software experience right out the box. So that way you don't have to pay any type of upgrade fees. You have all of your effects, your hot cues, sample banks, everything you need right there as soon as you open it up from day one. On the downside, I can only find really minor nitpick type gripes. The first one being the small tempo sliders that are here on the DDJ-SR. These tempo sliders are smaller than what a person such as myself who uses vinyl turntables or CDJs are used to. Even bigger controllers usually have a longer tempo slider, but these are smaller tempo sliders. They're still pretty good in resolution, but it just took me a little bit of time to get used to the small length on the tempo sliders. Another minor gripe that I have with the unit, that I basically have with every Serato DJ controller, is that there's not a real efficient way to control the sample banks in the SP6 sampler. You are allowed to play your samples, and you can also adjust the volume control here on board, but you can't really do things like change the tempo and do other parameter differences on your samples unless you actually use your mouse and your keyboard on your computer. So there's no real way to control your SP6 except for easy, simple playback. But other than that, you have a really solid controller. It's in a really nice compact package. I like this compact package very much. It really feels durable, really feels solid, built to last. And we're gonna definitely recommend this to anyone who wanted a smaller style controller with the same Pioneer DDJ-SX style build quality, and it came bundled with the full Serato DJ experience. So this is definitely one that you want to check on your short list if you want something small, compact, and that's ready to go with Serato DJ. For more on the full written review, you can head on over to www.djbooth.net. You can click on the link at the top of this description. And also, on a side note, I have these shirts here. They are from onthespin.com. It's a DJ website, and basically they are by DJs for DJs, and they just get out a lot of information about what professional DJs are doing today, and maybe even your favorite DJ might be there explaining something for you guys. So make sure you go on and check out the website, onthespin.com. You can also check out their Instagram, which is onthespin, Facebook onthespin, and also Twitter onthespin. And if you like these cool shirts, they'll be selling them soon. They'll be $25 each, really high quality, really nicely made. So make sure you go check them out at onthespin.com. Hit that subscribe button, and thanks for watching.